The world is entering a new era, an era defined not by armies marching across continents, but by economies, technologies, and supply chains in a silent but intense struggle for dominance. On one side stands the United States, the longtime architect of the global economic order. On the other stands China, a nation that has risen from deep poverty to a global powerhouse in less than half a century. This is no ordinary competition. It's a strategic contest over innovation, influence, power, and the future of the global system itself. In this video, we break down how the US-China rivalry began, where the two giants stand today, and who is truly shaping the future of the world. To understand today's rivalry, we must go back to the late 1970s. After decades of economic isolation, China, under the leadership of Deng Xiaoping, opened its doors to foreign investment, market reforms, and global trade. What followed was one of the fastest economic transformations in human history. China became the world's factory. Its low-cost labor, massive infrastructure projects, and export-driven growth model allowed multinational companies, especially American ones, to produce goods at unprecedented scale and efficiency. By 2001, when China joined the World Trade Organization, the integration between the US and Chinese economies reached its peak. America relied on China for cheap manufacturing. China relied on America as its biggest consumer market. But beneath this mutually beneficial partnership, a strategic shift was brewing, one that would eventually redefine global power dynamics. For the US, the alarm bells rang in 2015 when China unveiled its landmark industrial plan, Made in China 2025. This was not just another economic policy, it was a direct challenge to America's technological supremacy. The plan targeted 10 strategic industries, including artificial intelligence, advanced semiconductor manufacturing, robotics, aerospace, electric vehicles, biomedicine, and next-generation telecommunications. In other words, the sectors that would define global power in the 21st century. The United States suddenly realized that China no longer wanted to be the world's factory. It wanted to lead in innovation, in high-tech manufacturing, and in the technologies of the future. For Washington, this wasn't just an economic threat, it was a geopolitical one. In 2018, tensions erupted into a full-scale trade war. The US, accusing China of unfair trade practices, intellectual property theft, and forced technology transfers, imposed tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods. China retaliated immediately with its own tariffs on American products, especially agriculture and automobiles. The trade war sent shockwaves through global markets. Supply chains were disrupted, consumer prices rose, and companies around the world were forced to rethink their manufacturing strategies. This was the first major sign that the era of deep US-China economic cooperation was coming to an end. But the real battlefield wasn't soybeans or steel, it was technology. The Huawei ban. The US banned Huawei, accusing the company of posing national security risks. It pressured allies to exclude Huawei from their 5G networks. This was a direct hit to China's ambitions to dominate global telecommunications. Semiconductor restrictions. In 2022 and 2023, the US took an even more dramatic step. It restricted China's access to advanced semiconductor technologies, arguably the most important resource of the digital age. Modern AI models, advanced military systems, satellites, and smartphones all rely on cutting-edge chips. And the United States, along with partners like Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, and the Netherlands, controls the world's most critical chip-making technologies. The message was clear: if China cannot access advanced chips, it cannot lead in artificial intelligence or next-generation military systems. AI dominance. Both countries are racing to build the world's most advanced AI capabilities. Whoever wins this race will shape the future of warfare, the global economy, and technological standards for decades to come. Economic power is not only about technology, it's about resources. China today dominates the global supply of rare earth elements, controlling around 80% of production. These materials are essential for smartphones, electric vehicles, missiles, and virtually every modern technology. This gave China enormous leverage. But in response, the United States has started a long-term strategy to reduce dependence by investing in new mines and supply routes across Australia, Canada, Africa, and Latin America. Friendshoring, and the new supply chain map. Washington also introduced a new strategy known as friendshoring, moving supply chains away from China and into friendly nations like Mexico, Vietnam, India, South Korea, and Eastern Europe. This shift is reshaping global manufacturing and weakening China's status as the world's central production hub. For now, the US dollar remains the king of global finance. Nearly 85% of world trade is conducted in dollars. Most central banks hold dollar-based reserves, and US sanctions give Washington enormous geopolitical leverage. But China is slowly challenging this dominance. It's expanding the use of the yuan through BRICS trade agreements, bilateral energy deals, its Global Belt and Road Initiative, and the world's first widely deployed digital currency, the digital yuan. While the yuan won't replace the dollar anytime soon, China's financial expansion is creating a parallel system, one that reduces the world's dependence on the United States. Economics and geopolitics are inseparable. In the Indo-Pacific region, the United States has strengthened alliances with Japan, South Korea, Australia, and the Philippines to counter China's growing military presence, especially in the South China Sea. China, meanwhile, has expanded its naval bases, built artificial islands, and increased its influence across Southeast Asia. This region has become the world's most strategic battleground, economically, militarily, and politically. Just as the Middle East shaped global power in the 20th century, the Indo-Pacific will shape it in the 21st. So, who will come out on top? The truth is, the competition is far from over. The United States still leads in high-tech innovation, finance, military power, and global influence. China, however, has unprecedented manufacturing capacity, a massive population, and long-term strategic planning that few countries can match. This rivalry is not about who wins a single battle. It's about who shapes the rules, technologies, and institutions of the future world. And one thing is certain, the US-China economic war will define the 21st century, and every nation, company, and individual will feel its impact. As the rivalry intensifies, both the US and China have turned their eyes toward a new arena, emerging markets. These regions, Latin America, Africa, Southeast Asia, represent the fastest growing populations and future centers of global consumption. China has invested heavily through the Belt and Road Initiative, financing railways, ports, energy grids, and highways. For many developing nations, China has become the primary builder of their modern infrastructure. The US, recognizing this shift, has begun forming strategic partnerships and investment frameworks to counter Beijing's influence. This competition isn't simply about economics, it's about shaping the diplomatic loyalties of the next generation and securing the political support of the world's fastest-growing regions. The US-China rivalry has even moved beyond Earth. Both nations see outer space as a critical frontier for military advantage, communication systems, and technological leadership. China has rapidly expanded its space program, landing probes on the moon, deploying advanced satellites, and planning a permanent lunar base. The United States, meanwhile, continues to lead with NASA, SpaceX, and its network of private companies pushing the boundaries of space innovation. But this competition isn't just about exploration. Satellites control global internet access, GPS navigation, and intelligence gathering. Whoever dominates space will control the digital infrastructure of the future, and both nations know it. After decades of rising tension, the ultimate question remains: is the US-China rivalry heading toward cooperation or collision? Economically, the two nations are deeply intertwined. Despite sanctions, trade wars, and political disagreements, they remain each other's largest trading partners. But strategically, both sides are preparing for a world defined by uncertainty. Will the future be shaped by collaboration on global challenges like climate change and technological progress? Or will the rivalry harden into a long-term Cold War, one fought through alliances, supply chains, cyber warfare, and technological dominance? No one can predict the outcome, but one thing is clear. The relationship between the United States and China will determine the stability and direction of the global order for decades to come.